Welcome to the Woolpack. For more information, please visit our website. The last few podcasts have been kind of starting off with more heavier topics, so I thought I would lighten this podcast up by starting with a joke. I made this one up, so if it's terrible, just, keep it to yourself. Why did Moses part the Red Sea? Because they were in a rush and it was a split decision. Now, I find it funny, but maybe my sense of humor is broken, or maybe it just doesn't take much to make me laugh, but there you go, a little something lighthearted. So, this has been something that had been coming up quite a bit lately, like the last few days, and it's kind of more of just a realization that every time you go to do something, you sacrifice something. Like if you go to read a book, you're sacrificing time that you could be spending doing other things to read that book. Or if you're going to go for a drive in the car, you're sacrificing time and gasoline, or even major things like, certain things. If you want to advance in your career, maybe you have to sacrifice time that you could spend with friends or family. As harsh as that may be, sometimes that's the case. And I was just thinking that whatever you do, always check to see, what am I going to have to sacrifice in order to do this? And is it worth the sacrifice? And then also, is what I'm sacrificing of more value than what I want to do? So for example, let's say that you're married and you have kids, and maybe you want to do your career, but maybe you realize, well, in order to go further in my career, I'm going to have to sacrifice time that I could spend with my wife and kids. Is that something that you want to sacrifice? Is your career, worth the sacrifice of time that you could be spending with your family? And I think it's something that really is good to keep in mind and makes you very more aware of what you're doing in your life, the decisions you're making. It's just like I like video games, but and I will play some, a little bit, but I don't want to sacrifice a ton of time or days or many hours doing a video game when I could spend that time doing something more meaningful, visiting with people, or studying something, or working on something that's going to be more productive. Now, there's nothing wrong with advancing your career or playing video games or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying these things are bad. I'm just saying that when you go to do them, really look at what you're going to have to sacrifice in order to do them. And then ask yourself, is it worth it to sacrifice these things for, whatever it is? Is it going to be worth the sacrifice? Because in some things, you have to sacrifice big things, like relationships or valuable things, So it's just a good thing to be mindful of, and something that I think we should be very considerate. Just really bear it in mind and really think these things through before we just jump in and do something. Really just realize the sacrifices that have to be made, and really just wonder, is it worth it? And really examine it. It's very important to do that. I just saw a headline from Science Alert. It says, many cat lovers are giving their cats unwanted affection, study suggests. Now, I disagree with this. I have not read the article. I just saw the headline. But honestly, I do disagree, because the attention and affection that I give my cat is wanted. It is wanted by me. So I do not give my cat unwanted affection, because I want to give her that attention and affection. Does she want it? Hey, I don't know. That's a whole other thing. But it is clearly wanted, at least by me. So therefore, it is not unwanted affection. It is wanted affection. And besides, I'm just petting her and giving her, affection and attention. So if she doesn't like it, well, she's not suffering. She's fine. She can handle me petting her. But yes, it is very much wanted affection. And so this article is just, I don't know who they were talking to. Maybe they were talking from the cat's perspective, but honestly, yeah. I have been reading through the book of 2 Samuel, and I'm sure that most people are probably familiar with the story of David and Bathsheba. And if you're not familiar, to sum up, David, he is the king of Israel, and he stays behind while his army is out fighting. And as he's, one afternoon, he's, walking along the roof of his house, he sees Bathsheba bathing, and he takes her, and anyway, she ends up getting pregnant, and turns out she was actually married. So then he actually tries to, get her and her husband together, and then when that doesn't work, he ends up killing her husband, and it's just a whole train wreck, basically. But what's interesting about the story is there are so many instances where David could have repented. He could have stopped. The first thing is he should have gone out to battle with his army. So that was like his first strike. He shouldn't have been home. He should have been with his army. The second thing is, as soon as he saw Bathsheba, bathing, he should have just looked away. The third thing is, obviously then, he shouldn't have been with her. Then he shouldn't have, tried to get her and her husband together. Then he shouldn't have killed her husband. It was like 5 things in a row that it's just, he kept like digging and making it worse and worse and worse. And I think we do that a lot. Well, we do. We do that a lot. We, there's this little mistake we made, little sin that we do. Not that this is really any little sin, but, just this one thing we do. We just start, and we should repent right then and there. But instead, we justify, or we try to make it right. And so that causes another sin or another problem. And then we still should repent right then. But then, we're trying to justify that. And so then, when we would have been repenting and confessing just one sin, we end up with 30 sins that we've now done that we have to repent of. And I think it's just a good reminder that no matter how little, just bring it to the Lord, repent of it. Don't wait, don't, try to justify it. Just confess it before the Lord and repent. While it's still just that one sin, while it's just that one mistake, and don't let it snowball, don't let it build up. I think it's just a good reminder for all of us. There's an article here from the Jerusalem Post. It says, Asteroid 2.3 times the size of dinosaur heading for Earth, NASA. So NASA's, reporting on this asteroid. But first of all, it's weird the way they measure it, like the way they compare the size. It doesn't say what dinosaur, at least in the headline, it doesn't say what dinosaur. It's like, why can't they just use feet, meters, miles, yards, those things. But the second thing is, there has been a lot of asteroid news. It seems like there's been more. I don't know if we're just reporting on them more, or if they're actually more frequent. In some ways, it seems like they're more frequent, or it's just kind of like maybe sensational news that they want to report on. But it's really interesting because I was actually thinking about people often talk about, men and women. We get kind of caught up in these different topics about men and women. What are men and women's roles? Who's the stronger one? All these things. And we get in, not just men and women, but we talk about our countries, the people of this country are strong, the people of this country are this. But I was thinking that nature is when you really sort of, if you were to take a human and put them in nature, instantly you'd see how vulnerable we are. We are just so vulnerable. And that can be scary in a way, but I also think it's kind of good to realize that, because it really puts things into perspective. It really gets us to think about what's really important. And God is in control. He is in control. He is in control of all these things. And it's yes, we're vulnerable, but I think we're vulnerable because we need God, because, God has made us so that we need him. But you just look around and, no matter how crazy things get, God is in control. Now, some of you may not believe in God, and I understand that. But I would just encourage you, if you don't, I would encourage you to, look into it and, talk to people who do and, really take it, really seriously consider it, because these are important questions, And I think we need to, rather than debate, I think it's important for us to really seriously consider them and listen to others, viewpoints and stuff, and weigh the evidence. But I would just encourage you, just look around and, really just think about the way the world is made. The way it's designed. Whether you believe in an intelligent designer or not, just look at I can't really think of another word outside of design, but just look at the way it's, everything is set up in the world. And, look at how everything functions. Look at the fact that you're here and all the things that needed to be in the perfect place at the perfect time in order for you to be here. And look at the purpose and value that you have for your life. Why do you have that purpose? Why do you have that value? Where does that come from? Why do you have a sense of right and wrong? Where does that come from? I'm not trying to push any arguments or any ideas, Like I said, I think these are, important things to think about. I just want to, just encourage you to really seriously consider these things and think about them and, really seek them out. But with all this asteroid stuff in the news, it is a comfort to know that God is in control and, Christ is on the throne. He's king. But yeah, it's always interesting though how they measure things. It's very weird. Thank you for listening to the Woolpack podcast. To learn more about how you can contribute, get involved, or join the Woolpack, please visit our website. Thank you and God bless.